Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 1, Where's the money? Where is my money? Chapter 1, Where is the money? Where is my money? The bride price is 300,000 yuan, not a penny less. I don't care about money, I just want to know how important I am to you. Also, your mother's name cannot be written on your apartment. It must be transferred to my name. Shenzhen, the window seat of Grey Whale Cafe. 38-year-old Jiang Qin looked at the marriage partner in front of him, and suddenly felt that her face was a little strange. They met through a blind date and have been together for more than half a year. Since they are not young anymore and there is no time to delay it any longer, they have been discussing marriage recently. To be honest, Jiang Qin doesn't have much feelings for her, and he believes that the other party has similar thoughts. After all, he is already at Benxi's age. Is it still for love to marry a wife and have children? I just don't want to be alone forever, but he didn't speak, but drank the water in the cup silently, and looked out the glass case window, his ears automatically blocking the other party's voice. He thinks life is actually pretty up. Because his parents said that knowledge changes destiny, he studied hard since he was a child, thinking that he would definitely be rich or noble in the future, and would be extraordinary. But it wasn't until he got to work that he realized that he wasn't even an ordinary person. When he first entered the workplace in 2016, he was drunk by a table full of customers and ended up in the hospital. He was not able to see his grandmother who raised him for the last time. In 2019, a thunderstorm broke out about the project, and he was forced to take the blame. He stayed in a rental house and ate instant noodles for 5 months, unable to distinguish between dreams and reality. The job he got later was relatively stable, but it was far away from where he lived. He was so diligent that he had to urinate twice just to buy a car. In 22 years, he finally bought a car, but he found that he couldn't fill up the gas tank and pee. After turning 30, he found that rents were rising faster than his salary, so he saved money desperately and informed his parents of his intention to buy a house in Shenzhen. From that day on, I never saw meat or fish on my parents' table. But the down payment was still not enough, so his father hid it from him, worked during the day and ran Didi at night, and almost suffered a brain congestion. Is poverty really related to laziness? Jiang Qin has been thinking about this issue over the years. He felt that he was diligent enough and fully worthy of his name. But what about money? Who made the money? When he was a child, his parents once told him sincerely that as long as you are willing to endure hardship, you will definitely get ahead. But what he discovered when he grew up was that as long as you are willing to endure hardship, there will be endless hardship. Now, his blind date wants a bride price of 300,000 yuan. Jiang Qin, did you listen to me? Well, I've been listening. Then why didn't you say a word? I've been talking for a long time and you didn't even care until my voice became hoarse. Jiang Qin put down the water glass and said after a long silence, why don't we just stop getting married? The woman was stunned for a moment, and then became furious. What do you mean by this? It's nothing, I just feel so tired and want to go home and take a nap. Jiang Qin, you coward, no wonder no woman wants to date you even though you are 38. Jiang Qin ignored the woman's roar, stepped out of the Western restaurant, and walked aimlessly along the road. When he walked to a construction site, he saw a banner hanging on the wall saying that beating workers is the best thing for people. So he lit a cigarette, took 2 puffs and then burned a hole in it. He actually didn't have too many complaints about that woman, and even thought her request was normal. You are already 35, what's wrong with being realistic? He was just thinking about a problem. When will these days come to an end? People who have never worked are desperately advocating that working as a worker is superior to others, but those who have been working don't dare to say anything and can only nod and admit, ah, that's right, that's right. How do you look like a master? As for love, Jiang Qin doesn't even know if this thing exists. He has gone on several blind dates and met several girls introduced by his friends. He can get by with any of them, but the saddest thing is that he can only get by. Looking back on my life, I have so many regrets. Jiang Qin sighed and took out his phone from his pocket. He wanted to find a friend to drink with him, but when he opened it, he saw 4 text messages. A credit card reminder notice, a phone bill arrears warning, and my brother is nearby. There is no one at home today. The last message came from his direct boss, telling him in a thoughtful way that the company's performance has been poor recently and he hoped that employees could voluntarily reduce their salaries and tide over the difficulties together with the company. Jiang Qin instantly lost his mood for drinking and continued smoking downstairs under the construction building. In this era, you must not work if you want to be rich, because the distribution of resources in this society is inherently unfair. But when he thought about his age, Jiang Qin couldn't help but laugh. It's a bit unrealistic to start a business when you're 38, right? His waist has been broken in the past 2 years, and he has problems with his cervical spine. His cruciate neuralgia is more frequent than frequent urination. Dragging this broken body to start a business, even if it succeeds, you will have to be 50 years old. What is there to enjoy in this life? It would be great if I could start over, work for nothing, and stay with a rich woman if I can. If it doesn't work out, start a business. I firmly believe that you can make more money if you lose it, but you can make more if you lose your conscience. Jiang Qin took a deep breath, pinched his sore neck, and couldn't help but glance up. What is that dark thing? Still coming head on. Give him a shot of epinephrine, hurry up. Welcome to the Olympics, be civilized and establish new trends. Where is Director Liu? Ask if the operating room has been vacated. Hurry. My door is always open, and my arms are waiting for you. Jiang Qin suddenly felt a little dazzling in front of his eyes, a little noisy in his ears, his skin was a little hot, and his head was a little dizzy. Indistinctly, he saw a very beautiful little girl, about 17 or 18 years old. She was wearing a fluffy floral dress, revealing a small section of her fair and smooth calves, a straight bridge of her nose, thin red lips, slender and curled eyelashes, and a pair of bright eyes. Jiang Qin smiled. During the years of working diligently to trade cars and villas for the big boss, he had never even dreamed of such a beautiful girl. Such a beautiful girl, can she cry for a long time after being slapped? Jiang Qin, I really don't want to talk about friends, I'm sorry. Jiang Qin couldn't laugh anymore because he found that the girl in front of him became more and more vivid and clear. Her floral dress was printed with Yano chrysanthemum, and she was standing gracefully on the red plastic runway, slightly blocking the sun with her arms that covered the snow, so that she would not be unable to open her eyes. But even so, the hot weather still made this young and beautiful girl a little irritable. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your consent. We are still good friends, right? Jiang Qin's eyebrows began to frown, and a trace of solemnity flashed in his eyes. She knows this girl. Chu Siki was the class beauty in high school. She should be married now. After high school and college, I chased her for 7 years and was almost rejected by her to the point where I doubted my life. Actually, Jiang Qin is not a dog licker, and he can't do such a thing as a life and death struggle. But the problem is that Chu Siki has been constantly intervening in his life as a friend, telling him to do this and that, and not allowing him to date other girls. She gives him a little hope from time to time and throws 2 candies, which really disturbs the young Jiang. The torture was not light. I will consider becoming your girlfriend after my freshman year. I didn't expect the coursework in my sophomore year to be so heavy. Let's talk about it in my junior year. There are many competitions to participate in during my junior year, and I don't have time to fall in love. It wasn't until the second semester of her junior year that she and a tall, thin boy came holding hands in couples outfits. That day, her face was full of gentleness, her eyes were as bright as stars, and she smiled and asked her boyfriend if he was handsome. Since then, he has sealed his heart and never thought of falling in love again. Only then did he come up with the story that he reluctantly found someone to marry at the age of 38. In 2008, there was no concept of a spare tire. It was not until the internet developed later that Jiang Qin realized that he was a spare tire. She just couldn't find the right one for the time being, so she kept looking far and near to her. She would make fun of him when she was happy, and ignore him when she was unhappy. To put it bluntly, he is just a tool for her to pass the time when she is bored. The past events were vivid in his mind, but Jiang Qin felt a little dizzy and tinnitus at this moment. The Qingnan High School in my memory, the class beauty of my girlhood. Is this, rebirth? Still dreaming? If it is rebirth, then what? Why not? Jiang Qin stretched out his hand tremblingly and scratched twice in the air without waking up any virtual scream. Is this a false rebirth? Not even equipped with all the equipment. Jiang Qin, did you hear me? I really don't want to fall in love right now. Okay, I'll listen to you. Jiang Qin replied casually, and then closed his eyes, trying to see if he could awaken Golden Finger with his mind, but unfortunately, he failed. There really was no system. Hearing his straightforward answer, Chu Siki was a little surprised. Jiang Qin's attitude was full of indifference, which made her feel like a fist hitting cotton, in vain. Did you not hear clearly? I just rejected you. I heard it, but I'm not deaf. Then you have nothing to say to me. Jiang Qin accepted the reality that there was no system, and his eyes fell on Chu Siki's hand. What is that thing in your hand? Chu Siki raised the envelope in her hand arrogantly. This is the love letter you just gave me. I already told you not to give it back. Please give it back. Don't write it next time. Then can you give it back to me? I can use it. Jiang Qin took the love letter back without waiting for her to agree. Then he took out the page inside, crumpled it into a ball and stuffed it into his pocket. Then he unfolded the envelope, spread it flat on his knees, and started writing. 2 lines of words. Working for nothing, and staying with a rich woman if you can. You can make more money if you lose it, but you can make more money if you lose your conscience. New book for newcomers. If you think it's good, be sure to collect it. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 2, The mission of rebirth is to make money. Chapter 2, The mission of rebirth is to make money. That thing that fell down was a steel plate used for construction. Jiang Qin thought about it and came up with a reliable answer. So he first encountered a key question: why am I reborn? The answer is actually very simple. It is probably because I felt regretful in my heart, which moved the world and gave me a chance. What is the regret for Jiang Qin? Nothing else, I just couldn't get the money. So he came back to make money, and he didn't even talk about love. Especially when it comes to things like spare tires, which consume the most energy. If you have this time, you might as well help your parents brush the chopsticks and wash the dishes. People always think twice when they are young, and it is understandable that they are full of appreciation for beautiful things, but it would be nonsense for a man who is busy with life to only think about and thighs when he is reborn. Having been reborn, who can a serious person fall in love with? Jiang Qin folded the paper he had written and put it into his pocket. When he raised his head, he found that Chu Siki was stunned in place, with a hint of disbelief in her eyes. That's the love letter you wrote to me. How can you take it back? You don't want it? Then don't waste it. I'll rename it and give it to others. Chu Siki choked for a moment and quickly changed her explanation. Jiang Qin, actually you don't have no chance at all. I just don't want to fall in love now, but it won't necessarily matter when I go to college. When the time comes, I will be the first to consider it. Jiang Qin couldn't help but glance at her, and goosebumps instantly appeared on his body. If this was me in adolescence, it would really be possible for me to continue on the road to darkness because of this weak hope. But looking at it from my current perspective, my vision when I was young was really not that good. Are you the first one to consider me? Is this human talk? Everything I said is true, but there is one thing. You are not allowed to write love letters to others, and you are not allowed to like others, otherwise we will never have a chance again. But I don't think I really like you. Let's get together and part ways, be good. Chu Siki opened her eyes slightly, and her proud heart was greatly stung. Why do we just get together and break up? It's like you've been dumped. I'm so kind and encourage you not to give up. What's your attitude? Jiang Qin, do you know that love needs to be tempered? You can't even withstand a small setback. How can I consider being with you? I haven't seen your determination, okay? Then you can train with someone else. I have more important things to do now. Jiang Qin is now focused on making money and really doesn't want to get into too many useless entanglements. Chu Siki immediately exploded after hearing this. Jiang Qin, you bastard, I swear I will never pay attention to you again. Just wait a moment. Just when Chusiki was about to run away, Jiang Qin suddenly stopped her, showing unusual nervousness on his face. Seeing his expression, Chusiki felt a little happy, and the girl's pride returned to her face in an instant. He was really afraid that he would ignore him and just be stubborn about whether he wanted to get together or to go away. What's wrong? Is there anything else? But I want to tell you in advance, you won't have another chance. Jiang Qin lifted up the stationery bag in his hand and glanced at it as if he hadn't heard anything. Are we taking the college entrance examination? Have we finished the exam? Which subject are we in? Chusiki was slightly startled. I finished the exam. I just finished the last subject this morning. Great, if you ask me to take the exam again, I won't even be able to pass the Lanxiang Technical School. Chusiki looked at his bright smile and suddenly felt a little dazed. You stopped me just to tell me this? Jiang Qin took a deep breath. One more thing, does finishing the exam mean a holiday? I don't know, ask whoever you want. Chusiki was so angry that she jogged all the way back to the teaching building. Who is he who pretends not to care when he is rejected? Does he think that he will become soft-hearted if he does so? I don't know where I learned it from, but I know how to play hard to get, so I'll ignore you for a week, and let's see who will rush to admit his mistake. Jiang Qin packed up his things, turned around and walked towards the teaching building, but before he could walk a few steps, he was surrounded by a group of watching classmates. I told you that you will definitely fail. Do you like Chusiki if you want to? You are not overestimating your own abilities. The speaker is Qin Xiang, a well-known rich second generation in the second class of the third year. I am the largest real estate developer in the local area. This guy once did the feat of shouting in the school cafeteria that I will pay for the meal. He was so arrogant. Lao Jiang, there's no need to feel sad. Chusiki rejected as many as 100 to 80 people. I'll treat you to a soda later. The second person who spoke was a fat little black man wearing glasses, who was Jiang Qin's best friend in high school, named Guo Zihang. Jiang Qin ignored Qin Xiang's taunting, but looked at Guo Zihang with some emotion and patted his shoulder with one hand. Lao Guo, your legs are still there. It's not easy to see you standing up. After packing up his things and leaving school, Jiang Qin rode his bike southward. To be honest, a young body is really good. There is no fatigue or soreness. Anyone who uses it will know. If it had been before he was reborn, let alone riding a bicycle, he would probably be out of breath even after walking a few steps. It's different now. With such a physique, if he could be used to drive screws in a factory, he would probably be able to build a house. He pedaled faster and faster while looking at the slogans on the road welcoming the Olympics, enjoying this extremely youthful body. Hey, my hair can fly in the wind. This feels like a long time ago. Half an hour later, he arrived at the bustling community in the north of the city. The buildings here have turned black, and the paint on the walls has fallen off like ringworm. There is not even a formal gate in the entire community, only a crossbar restricting the entry of vehicles. Looking in from the door, the first thing I see is the door is not a unit door, but a privately built utility room. If I remember correctly, this should be the first batch of residential areas in the old city to be demolished. A formal demolition official letter will be issued in July this year. In order to prove its determination in the demolition and reconstruction project, the government will allocate all compensation funds in October. The distribution is in place. His third uncle's Lian Xiao is a resident here. Once he got the money, his whole temperament changed. He started to smoke Chinese cigarettes and clamored to drive a Mercedes-Benz. But then the Mercedes-Benz didn't drive up, and his two sons started fighting. The second son wanted half for a new wife, and the eldest son also wanted half for marrying someone else's wife. At that time, both of them had their heads broken. The second son said to the boss, "Are you still being unreasonable if you want to marry a second-hand man for half the price?" After hearing this, the boss immediately became angry. Why am I not better than you when I marry an older man and give him a younger one? Want to buy? Jiang Qin couldn't help drooling when he looked at this old neighborhood. But now there is a very serious problem, that is, he has no money at all. How much money can a graduate who has just finished a college entrance examination have in his hand? There is money to buy ice cream, but don't even think about buying a house. Jiang Qin felt a little regretful. He always felt that countless small coins rolled past him and finally disappeared without a trace. He really did not have the ability to raise an initial amount of capital in a short period of time, so there was very little he could do. It is unrealistic to buy a house or land, and there is no capital for stock investment. This is the disadvantage of not having a system. The disadvantage is that even if you have many good ideas in your mind, it is difficult to take the first step without money. Did I have a fake birth? At this moment, Jiang Qin suddenly saw a bus parked on the roadside in front of him. Chu Siki got out of the bus, her floral dress swaying in the wind. She saw Jiang Qin as soon as she got out of the car. Her expression was surprised at first, then she hummed and raised her head, as if she was waiting for something. But what she didn't expect was that Jiang Qin just nodded politely, glanced reluctantly at the community opposite, and then rode away from the street. The breeze lifted a corner of my skirt, leaving only endless shock and confusion under the bus stop sign. New book for newcomers, if you think it's good, be sure to collect it. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 3, It's really not easy to make money. Chapter 3 Making money is really not easy. After leaving the bustling community, Jiang Qin went straight to his home. A 3-bedroom apartment with an area of 120 square meters, with the living room on the left and a kitchen on the right, holds almost all of Jiang Qin's beautiful memories. My biological mother, Ms. Yuan Yuqin, was cooking in an apron. She was chopping with the chopping board as loudly as possible. It sounded like meat dishes, the kind with bones in them. Qin dad Jiang Zhenghong was sitting on the sofa to read the newspaper, humming "The Cloud of the Hometown" in his mouth, and his slippers shook on the toes. Feeling this familiar warmth, Jiang Qin couldn't help but sigh. After drifting for many years, I am actually still a rootless duckweed. The roots that support me are here, so this is a home that cannot be replaced anywhere. Especially seeing my parents suddenly young, it feels really amazing. I'm back. Jiang Zhenghong narrowed his eyes and glanced at him. Have you finished the exam? Ms. Yuan Yuqin also poked her head out of the kitchen. How are you doing? Are you sure? One foot has already entered the door of the key point. You brat, what you said is so true, are you really lying? Ms. Yuan Yuqin looked at him with some suspicion. Jiang Zhenghong was very considerate. You must be a little worried if you dare to say such big things. Let's have a good drink tonight. Jiang Qin waved his hand and refused directly. Dad, I've thought about it. I want to start a business during the summer vacation, and I can't waste any time. Start a business. Just make money. Ms. Yuan Yuqin thought for a while. After dinner, you can clean the dishes. I will give you 5 yuan for a bowl and 10 yuan for the pot. Jiang Qin sighed and didn't argue anything. You can let me wash the dishes and pots. How about giving me 300 yuan in total? After hearing this, Jiang Zhenghong suddenly raised his head. Is there such a good thing? Then I will do it too. Go, 300 is enough for me to buy a new set. I clean pots and dishes every day and no one gives me 300. Go wash your hands and eat. Hey, my business collapsed before it even started. Jiang Qin sighed with emotion, washed his hands and returned to the dining table to have a meal with his parents. Before going to bed, Yuan Yuqin walked out of the bedroom and stuffed 5 Mao Zedong cards into his hand. In fact, Ms. Yuan also knows that graduating from high school is equivalent to a wild horse running wild. It costs money to sing and sing at class reunions. Before, asking him to pay 5 yuan to wash the dishes was just a soft-spoken and soft-hearted thing. Looking at the 500 in his hand, Jiang Qin felt slightly sad. Which big entrepreneur's original capital is only 500, but 500 is 500, it's better than nothing. Ms. Yuan, you will be the mother of the chairman from now on. I'm contented enough to be a general manager. Oh, by the way, I asked your uncle to ask at noon. Are you going to Zhengfang driving school to learn driving in a few days? We'll talk about learning to drive later. I have important things to do recently. Jiang Qin took the money and went back to the bedroom, turned on the computer and found Guo Zihang's QQ number, telling him to meet at Center Street early tomorrow morning. Guo Zihang asked him what he was doing, but Jiang Qin didn't tell him directly. He just said that he had 500 yuan now, and the greedy guy called him brother. After agreeing on tomorrow's actions, Jiang Qin opened Baidu and planned to read the news online, trying to awaken some memories about key nodes such as demolition and reconstruction, policy changes, stock market status, market premiums, etc., so as to be ready to make a fortune. But before the web page was loaded, his eyes stopped on the computer QQ friend list. Chusiki's chat box is pinned to the top. Jiang Qin moved the mouse over, directly cancelled the pin, locked his own space, and changed his non-mainstream avatar. After doing this, he took a look at his personal signature, and at one glance, he picked out all 3 rooms and 1 living room. I love you, what does it have to do with you? It was so embarrassing. Jiang Qin slapped his forehead, quickly deleted it and replaced it with yesterday's song. After completing the change, Jiang Qin found that Chu Siki, who had a grey avatar just now, suddenly came online, and her avatar was still bouncing. It was obvious that a message had been sent. So he opened it casually, took a look, and then closed it without any interest. The other party asked him why he suddenly closed the space, and ordered him to open the space quickly, saying that he would step on the space for him. Still stepping on the space? I haven't heard such an ancient sentence in many years. Do you want to go to court again? Early the next morning, the sky was clear, the sun was warm and the wind was calm. Jiang Qin went out on his bicycle and came to the pedestrian street of Pingyang East Road. This street is considered the most prosperous commercial pedestrian street in Jeju City. Before the renovation of the old market was completed, it was once a prime location for various vendors to compete for. However, due to the great competition, price wars broke out. Instead, making things here relatively cheap. Because Guo Zihang was thinking about the 500 in Jiang Qin's pocket, he pedaled very fast and was already sweating profusely when he arrived at the meeting place. Brother Jiang, how are you going to spend the 500 yuan in your pocket? I haven't been to a bar yet, why don't we go and experience it? Stop talking about that useless thing. Have you seen that old man selling boxed lunches? Go and ask how much the boxed lunches cost. Guo Zihang looked in the direction of Jiang Qin's finger, his face instantly turned pale. Shall we have lunch for lunch? Jiang Qin narrowed his eyes and did not say directly, go and ask first. Don't worry, I won't treat you badly. Oh. Guo Zihang walked over dully and asked about the price. Prices in 2008 were not too high. A box lunch with shredded potatoes cost 2 yuan, a lunch box with some minced meat costed 3 yuan, chicken legs and potato shreds cost 5 yuan, and chicken drumsticks added 6 pieces of poached eggs. Jiang Qin looked at the time, thought about it, threw 200 yuan to his boss, and told him not to ask, just do it. Then he found 2 cardboard boxes, packed some of the prepared lunch boxes, and took Guo Zihang to the internet cafe street. Pushing open the door of one of the internet cafes, Jiang Qin first took out a pack of yushi bought on the road and handed it to the network administrator, and then began to sell his lunch boxes. The internet fools who stayed online all night were very hungry at the moment and didn't want to go out to eat. As soon as I saw the food delivered to my door, I became very hungry. Although there is nothing unusual about lunch boxes, they are still better than instant noodles, right? So, the 2 yuan ones were sold for 4 yuan, the 5 yuan ones were sold for 7 yuan, and the 6 yuan ones were sold for 9 yuan. In the end, except for 2 boxes of chicken legs and poached eggs, all the rest were sold out. From 7 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the 2 of them went back and forth 3 times, changed to 5 internet cafes, and the price increased twice. Guo Zihang was so tired that he stuck out his tongue and panted, sweat dripping from his forehead. Jiang Qin's back was also soaked with sweat. He squatted on the side of the road, wiping his sweat and counting money. The 200 yuan lunchbox sold for 378 yuan, and there were still 2 boxes of chicken leg rice left, just enough for 2 people each. Actually, he didn't do this to make money, but mainly to clarify his thinking. Now it seems that the thinking is okay and money can be made, but the profit point is too thin. However, Jiang Qin is not disappointed. How much profit do you want with a principal of 200 yuan? It can't be tens of thousands. He had never done business before he was reborn. He played this game today just to feel the feeling of making money. But to be honest, it was a bit of a loss. Guang Yushi gave me 5 boxes, which cost me more than 100 yuan first, and it took half a day to get there. The 2 of them were as tired as dogs, and they only got more than 70 yuan. But what if the principal is larger, and what if you spend something valuable? A doubling of 78 is pretty good. Jiang Qin took out 5 $10 coins and handed them to Guoziheng. He immediately stopped shouting that he was tired of the dog coins, holding the money in his hands and shouted, "Thank you, brother." "Brother, what are you still doing tomorrow?" "What the hell, I'm almost exhausted, so I earned 78, and I gave you 50, and the remaining money is enough to buy a pack of cigarettes." Jiang Qin was cursing, but he was actually thinking about the first pot of gold. Where can I make the first pot of gold? Those reborn Dogecoins in online novels can easily do big business, why can't they do it here? It was really impossible to go back and persuade the couple to sell the house and buy Bitcoin and Mutai stocks directly. At this moment, the lunchbox cook holding a shovel came over. He first stared at Jiang Qin, then came over mysteriously, and at the same time handed over a piece of baijiang. "How much did your 200 yuan lunchbox cost?" Jiang Qin took the cigarette and raised his head calmly, 406. Guoziheng was stunned for a moment, wasn't it 380? But seeing Jiang Qin's calm look, he didn't dare to speak. He swallowed and lowered his head. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 4, Pretty girls are the best at lying. Chapter 4, Pretty girls are the best at lying. 200 becomes 406. Can you make 2.5 days of money in one day? The old man selling box lunches was immediately greedy. He pulled up his trousers with a naive smile and squatted down next to Jiang Qin. The smell of oil and smoke mixed with body fragrance hit his face, making Jiang Qin feel a little heady. However, Jiang Qin didn't say anything, he just moved to the side and put the cigarette that the uncle handed over to his ear. The way he looks now, he doesn't look like a high school graduate at all, but like an old man who dropped out of school to make a living. "Man, can you tell me the address where you sell box lunches?" Jiang Qin seemed to have expected it, and he raised very skillfully, "Uncle, give me 200 yuan, and I will tell you the address." The uncle's eyes were as wide as bells, and he was as shrewd as lightning. 200 yuan. I can barely earn 200 yuan after working here for one day. Can't you make 400 by changing your address? Then tell me first, let me estimate whether it's worth it. The man selling box lunches was a little hesitant. 200 yuan is not a small amount. We just went to an internet cafe street. The east end of Shanghai Road? Right. I thought it was a good place. The business there is really good, but the city management is too strict. I went there once and my car was confiscated. I still can't come back. I haven't finished speaking yet. Just give me 200 yuan and I'll continue. If you feel it's inappropriate, I'll give it back to you. I'm still a student, so I won't cheat you, right? Jiang Qin's voice said. It's full of temptation. The lunch seller hesitated for a long time, then took out 200 yuan from his pocket. Tell me, if it's not worth it, I want the money back. Jiang Qin rolled up the 200 and stuffed it into his pocket. There is a foot-washing city called Shuyunjian on that street. There is a big courtyard inside when you enter from the door. The fire escapes of 7 internet cafes all lead directly to that courtyard. Also, look, the old man at the gate likes to smoke in Hongtashan, and the most important thing is that there is no urban management there. What does the old janitor care about? How dare he let me in and sell lunch boxes? Jiang Qin smiled calmly. He is the biological father of Shui Yunjian's boss. He is the gatekeeper because he feels uncomfortable being idle at home. The box lunch seller thought about it for a long time, and his face suddenly lit up. Come on, man, I won't charge you for eating box lunch next time. Easy to talk about. You have figured out the foot-washing city at a young age, and you will have a lot to do in the future. Jiang Qin cupped his fists and arched his hands. thank you. Guo Zihang next to him was stunned for a long time, and he grabbed Jiang Qin tremblingly, his eyes filled with envy. Lao Jiang, have you already been to a magical place like the foot-washing city? It's just the only way for men. Ah. Okay, goodbye, I made money today, I'll treat you to something good. Jiang Qin stood up, patted his butt, and walked forward along the main road with more than 700 yuan in his arms. Looking at his retreating figure, Guo Zihang was slightly startled, feeling that his friend seemed to have a sense of maturity that had gone through many vicissitudes of life. He is like the person in the TV series who has seen through life. Although his face is still laughing and scolding, his eyes are very deep and sharp, as if he can see through the essence of things. They had worked so hard just now and had been running around all morning. They had only sold more than 300 cigarettes, and the profit was not enough to buy cigarettes. But when Jiang Qin opened his mouth, he dared to say that he had made 460. The most important thing is that the man who sells lunch boxes has a shrewd look on his face. In the end, he was really fooled and he just bought an address for 200 yuan. Being able to chat with adults without showing timidity is something Guo Zihang cannot do. When he helps his mother buy groceries, he doesn't even dare to bargain. No wonder he doesn't even care if his confession fails. The people in the class thought he was just pretending, thinking that he just wanted to leave some pitiful and pathetic dignity for himself, but at this moment Guo Zihang began to believe Jiang Qin, and he might really not take this matter to heart. But when it comes to Chu Siki, Guo Zihang's Bagua soul begins to burn brightly again. Lao Jiang, how are things going between you and Goddess Chu? Jiang Qin turned to look at him. What can happen between me and her? You've been in love with her for 3 years, and it's over like this? She said she would consider it after going to college. Guo Zihang kept asking. He really didn't understand. He obviously went to college after the summer vacation, so why not give up now? Ah. She said university is just a university. I don't want to wait any longer. If a pretty girl can be relied upon, pigs will climb trees. Jiang Qin spoke expressionlessly, his words full of mockery of love. Falling in love will delay making money, and being a dog licker will delay life. The lessons of the past life are enough to prove this point of view. Women will only affect the speed of making money, and they will do nothing else. He has experienced the pain of secret love in adolescence and the horror of a $300,000 gift. It's not that he has no interest in women, but he just feels that life should be prioritized again. But, this is all your guess. Maybe Chu Siki really plans to fall in love with you as soon as she goes to college. Don't you feel it's a loss to give up now? Lao Guo, once a man has this kind of idea, it is basically like setting a trap. It is like this whether it is love or work. If it is not in your hands, don't believe it even if others say it. Jiang Qin's gaze deepened a little, and he suddenly remembered the promise he had received when he first joined the company. Dividends from projects, company shares, foreign travel, and living allowances for immediate family members are the same as Chu Siki saying, if you work harder, I will fall in love with you. They are all legends that everyone knows but has never seen. If she has hope in legends, she might as well believe in light. When thinking about this, Jiang Qin couldn't help but think of Tiga. He was a cosmic hero, but he was just an old man. Back then, he borrowed his own light and slipped away while fighting Gatange. As a result, his future became dark, and this guy didn't even mention returning his light. Don't do anything like a dog licker, don't do anything to be a social animal, and work hard to make money. This is the right way to live. At the same time, Guo Zihang suddenly started to scratch his head rapidly and made a hissing sound in his mouth. Jiang Qin felt strange when he saw it and couldn't help but stare at him for a few times. What's wrong with you? You didn't wash your hair when you went out? No, I feel like I'm going to have a brain in my head after listening to what you said. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Jiang Qin and Guo Zihang walked out of the restaurant, already full of wine and food. However, Guo Zihang was still obsessed with places like the bar, and wanted to ask Jiang Qin to take him to experience it, but before they had taken a few steps, 2 familiar figures appeared in front of them. One is Wang Huiru, the math class representative in the class, and the other is Chu Siki, the class beauty. 2 girls were walking arm in arm out of the pedestrian street, one holding starch sausage and the other holding up candied haws. The hot weather in summer made them sweat a little. Even the hair on their foreheads was wet, and their little faces were extremely pink from the heat. Coupled with the rapid breathing, their chests, which had grown to the beginning of their size, were constantly rising and falling. With Wang Huiru is very pretty and looks like Xia Jiabiyu. She has two pair dimples when she smiles. She is wearing overalls and is youthful and lively. If you look at her alone, she can be regarded as a beauty, but walking with Chusiki is nothing. Advantage. Chusiki is wearing a beige long skirt today, with the skirt hanging down to her knees. Her eyes are smart and bright, her facial features are exquisite, her red lips are full, and her skin color is as good as snow. She looks like a foil to Wang Huiru next to her. As soon as the four people met, the first person who reacted was Wang Huiru, who kept her eyes forward. She immediately raised her hand and said hello. Jiang Qin, Guoziheng, why are you here? Hearing someone calling him, Jiang Qin subconsciously looked up, and his eyes accidentally crossed with Chu Siki's in the bustling crowd. Then he stopped smiling and turned his head indifferently. Perhaps because of the memory of his past life, Jiang Qin always has a sense of God's perspective when looking at interpersonal relationships, so he really doesn't like Chu Siki. But his nearly 40-year-old soul has brought him enough maturity and stability to prevent him from turning around and leaving, but it is limited to this extent. Newbie, new book, please support, please vote for recommendation. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 5, Why Don't You Chase Me? Chapter 5 Why Don't You Chase Me? We're in business. Guoziheng is the kind of person who can smile at everyone. If he was better looking, he would definitely be considered a warm man. But unfortunately, his appearance is not up to par, and he can only be considered a blazing golem. So when Wang Huiru asked what they were doing, Guoziheng directly told them everything about selling lunch boxes today, and his words were full of pride, as if he was worthy of pride. In fact, Guoziheng didn't think wrong. It was really pretentious to say this. You know, high school students in this era are still quite shy. They would be nervous for a long time when asked for directions by a stranger, let alone go out to make money. Of course, there are indeed some high school students who want to experience life and have the idea of making money in their hearts. But the most they can do is do a part-time job, handing out flyers. But Jiang Qin was able to make hundreds of yuan using the trick of a white wolf with nothing, buying and selling by playing a middleman to make a profit on the price difference. Who wouldn't be confused after hearing this? Wang Huiru's father is a primary school teacher, and his salary is only 3,000 yuan a month. After deducting 5 insurances and 1 housing fund, the average salary is less than 100 yuan a day. Although the amount of money earned cannot be measured by an average, Jiang Qin's ability to earn 270 yuan a day was a huge shock to their worldview. Especially when she heard Guoziheng vividly describe Jiang Qin throwing cigarettes to the network administrator and selling them for 200 yuan using only one address, Jiang Qin's image became much taller in Wang Huiru's heart. Jiang Qin, why did you suddenly start learning business? Saving up money to marry a wife. Jiang Qin made a random remark. Wang Huiru was amused by his words and laughed, start saving now. How expensive a wife do you want to marry? Jiang Qin raised the corner of his mouth slightly, it depends on how many you marry. The more you marry, the more money you will need. How many more do you want to marry? You are so beautiful. Subsequently, Wang Huiru chatted with Guoziheng about filling in the application form, her tone full of longing for university life. Jiang Qin, on the other hand, has always been a bystander, with a smile on his face and said nothing more. He has already experienced his college days once, so he doesn't have much yearning for it, and he doesn't have much desire to interrupt. Even though many of Guoziheng and Wang Huiru's fantasies about college life were completely wrong, he did not go out to correct them like Brother Lao Dong did. Life is something that you have to experience to be meaningful. No one is qualified to self-righteously break other people's expectations. Even if you really know a lot, you still have to consider whether others want to know. During this process, Chu Siki looked at Jiang Qin with a cold gaze and a depressed expression. From the moment she rejected Jiang Qin's confession, she felt as if Jiang Qin had changed. He no longer looks for me on QQ, no longer sends good mornings and good nights, no longer secretly leaves messages in his own space, has changed his avatar, and has also changed his signature. It was as if they had become strangers. The most outrageous thing is that she was looking at his space on a whim yesterday, and was suddenly forced to leave. Only when she entered again did she find that his space was locked. This made her feel irritated, and the more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt, so she pretended to be nonchalant and sent him a message, asking him why he locked the space and whether it was locked for everyone or just herself. As a result, until now, Jiang Qin has not even replied to her with half a symbol. But why? It's you who likes me, but it's not me who likes you. Why did you suddenly stop sending me messages? Why didn't you let me enter your space? I didn't clearly say that I hate you, nor did I ask you to stop chasing me. Why did you decide to give up privately? Thinking of this, Chusiki couldn't help but think of the afternoon when she took the bus home. She met Jiang Qin on the roadside and thought he was here to apologize. She had thought about it at the time. If Jiang Qin had a good attitude and admitted that he was being tough, then she might give him a little chance. Unexpectedly, he just nodded slightly and then disappeared on his bike. Adolescent girls have a very sensitive heart and a very proud sense of self-esteem. Anyone who is treated like this by someone who has worked hard to pursue themselves will be full of grievances. So Chusiki lost her temper when she got home and vowed never to say a word to Jiang Qin again. No matter how much Jiang Qin apologizes or prays, she will never soften her heart. But until just now, when she met Jiang Qin on the street again, Chusiki couldn't help but start thinking about it again. She secretly thought to herself that as long as Jiang Qin could take the initiative to say hello and humbly admit that he was wrong, she could also respond to him coldly. But what she didn't expect was that Jiang Qin just stood there calmly from beginning to end. Except for chatting with Wang Huiru for a few words, he didn't even look at herself. The more Chusiki thought about it, the angrier she became. Her plump chest kept rising and falling, and she subconsciously started to exert force on Wang Huiru's arm. Wang Huiru, who was in pain, came back to her senses, glanced at her best friend, then at Jiang Qin, and suddenly remembered the emotional entanglement between the two on the day of the college entrance examination. No wonder these two people haven't spoken. Jiang Qin must have such low self-esteem that he dare not speak to the goddess who rejected him, right? In fact, Wang Huiru has a good impression of Jiang Qin. Especially after hearing Gua Zihang's praise of Jiang Qin, she felt that Jiang Qin had a maturity that other boys did not have. So she planned to help Jiang Qin. What if it could lead to a good relationship? Jiang Qin. Wang Huiru's eyes flashed with a hint of slyness. You just said you were making money to marry a wife, were you hinting at our Siki? Jiang Qin's face turned pale, and his right eyelid began to twitch. Sister, please spare me. Is not it? The temple is small, and there is no blessing to enjoy it. Hearing these words, Chusiki couldn't hold herself any longer. She bit her silver teeth together and a layer of mist appeared in her eyes. Jiang Qin, what do you mean? Jiang Qin waved his hand. It's nothing. I'll withdraw first. You can continue playing. You are not allowed to leave. You are not allowed to leave until I let you go. Jiang Qin waved his hands as if he hadn't heard, went to the roadside and rode his bicycle, and then merged into the crowd of people on the street without looking back. After rebirth, there was no need to explain too much to people who would no longer be related to him, so he didn't even bother to say anything. Don't forget your original intention and keep your mission in mind. Do you think I'm kidding? Chusiki stood there, looking at his retreating back and feeling extremely aggrieved, tears overflowing her eyes unsatisfactorily. She is not like those heroines in vulgar novels who suddenly realize that she likes Jiang Qin and feel regretful. She just felt as if she was looked down upon by Jiang Qin, as if she was a disgusting thing that he could avoid. Seeing her best friend speechless and choking, Wang Huiru next to her suddenly panicked. Didn't your best friend reject Jiang Qin's confession? Why is it that now that Jiang Qin is gone, my best friend is crying? What show is this in? New book for newcomers. If you think it's good, be sure to collect it. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 6, Jiang Qin will definitely regret it. Chapter 6 Jiang Qin will definitely regret it. Siki, why are you crying? Jiang Qin has changed. He would never treat me like this before. He went away when I didn't let him go, just to make me angry on purpose. Chu Siki gritted her teeth and burst into tears. Her chest kept rising and falling. The more she thought about it, the more she felt aggrieved. Ever since she was a child, she has been the apple of everyone's eye, doted on by her parents, pampered by her teachers, and everyone around her revolves around her. But just now she felt a hint of boredom in Jiang Qin's eyes, which made her feel very hurt. Chusiki felt that she was a very kind girl. Even if she rejected Jiang Qin, she didn't say anything to her. She encouraged him to continue and gave him warmth and hope. But what about him? Not even a little grateful, but still looking at himself with disgust. Doesn't he think he is going too far? He used to chat with me every day, and he was happy as long as he responded casually. Now he takes the initiative to talk to him, and he is still not satisfied. Hui Ru, although I rejected him, he said he wouldn't pursue me if he didn't want to. Do you think he went too far? I obviously gave him hope. This. Wang Huiru didn't know how to answer. Logically speaking, Jiang Qin was rejected after confessing his love, so he decided not to pursue her. This is also a human thing. But Chu Siki always says that she hopes. What does this mean? Have you already fallen in love with Jiang Qin? You just want to see his determination and think you can agree to it if he can persist for a while. Chu Siki immediately interrupted her. How is that possible? I admit that I have a crush on him, but it's not to that point yet. At least he has to chase him for a little longer. Wang Huiru was silent for a long time. How long is this longer? I don't know, but he will definitely let me see his sincerity, and I won't consider it until my heart is so excited. Siki, it's okay for you to let him continue, but have you ever thought about what if you meet someone you like more in the future? Of course I will choose to be with the person I like more. What about Jiang Qin? Chusiki thought for a long time and then said, then it can only be said that we are destined to be different, and you can't blame me. After hearing this, Wang Huiru felt a chill running down her spine. Don't you think Jiang Qin would be pitiful if one day really happened? He persisted for so long, only to see you with someone else. What can I do? I can't give up on the person I like, just because he lasts a long time and choose him. Wang Huiru's mind was confused. She felt that Chu Siki's words sounded fine at first, but the more she thought about it, the bigger the problem became. Isn't this just a waste of time? But she and Chu Siki are best friends. From the standpoint of their close relationship, she cannot say good things to Jiang Qin, but must stand firmly on her best friend's side. Siki, don't worry, I think Jiang Qin must be faking it. Pretending? He was just confused after being rejected by you and felt very embarrassed, so he pretended to be indifferent, but I guess he wouldn't be able to hold on for a few days before he would take the initiative to come to you again. Chu Siki really stopped crying after hearing this, and her arrogant energy came back. Even if he really regrets it, I will never give him another chance. After hearing this, Wang Huiru nodded vigorously. Yes, you must not give him a chance. Then when will he regret it? Do you really want to see him regret it? Wang Huiru couldn't help but ask. Chu Siki thought for a while, and then nodded seriously. She felt that Jiang Qin was too bad, playing with her feelings and self-esteem. Only when he came to her after regretting it, and then was severely rejected by her, could she act like this. Can be eliminated. Wang Huiru couldn't help but sigh secretly in her heart, not knowing how to answer the question. She felt that it was best for Jiang Qin not to look back and to escape unscathed now, otherwise there might not be much trouble in the end. But she never imagined that Jiang Qin had seen the ending and witnessed the joy of youth being abandoned, so he had no good impression of Chu Siki at all. This is how love is, it makes no sense at all. You have loved someone for many years, and you have been obedient to her and taken care of her in every possible way, but you have never even held her hand. But one day someone suddenly appears, and just a few sweet words can win her all her love. Do you reason with love? That love will only give you a big mouth that loves to eat. At the same time, Jiang Qin returned to the community, parked the car and walked to the community garden, then sat on a stone bench and began to meditate. His musings have nothing to do with Chusiki, because he doesn't care about Chusiki at all. What he is thinking about now is the first pot of gold. Summer vacation is neither long nor short. Logically speaking, you can do everything slowly and don't panic too much. But it is better to start a business sooner rather than later, so the issue of the first pot of gold is urgent. He must look for all possibilities. After pondering over it, he thought it might be easier to talk to his parents, so he got up and went upstairs to find Ms. Yuan Yuqin, who was enjoying her weekend. "Mom, how much savings does our family have? Can you lend me some? Tens of thousands is fine, hundreds of thousands is better." Ms. Yuan Yuqin reached under the table and handed him 2 mahjong tiles, one worth 80,000 yuan and the other 90,000 yuan, save some flowers. Jiang Qin's mouth twitched. "Mom, you are not willing to give me 90,000 yuan even for mahjong tiles. Fuck you, how can our family have any savings? It's not even worth selling you for more than 100,000 yuan. Jiang Zhenghong raised his head and looked at Jiang Qin at this time. He hesitated to speak, and his breathing became slightly heavier. Seeing this scene, Jiang Qin's eyes instantly lit up. Sure enough, Jiang is still very old anyway. Judging from the expression on his own father's face, he must have some private money and is hesitating whether to lend it to him. "Dad, do you have anything to say to me?" "Forget it, it's nothing, just go and have some fun." "It's okay, Dad, stop pretending, let's show your cards, I've already stabilized it." Son, can you pour me a cup of tea?" 3 minutes later, Jiang Qin returned to the room after pouring the tea, and his whole body returned to a state of despair. He felt that he was blinded by lard and had hope in his biological father. Mr. Jiang Zhenghong is well known for his razor-sharp ears. He gets so panicked that he can't sleep if his private money exceeds 5 yuan. How could he possibly lend himself tens of thousands? However, you can't do big business, you still have to do small business. After all, small money is money, and you can make more if you accumulate a little. Moreover, starting a business is the most difficult thing to start. It is indeed a bit unrealistic to rely on others. Borrow money? He is surrounded by high school students now. It's a big deal to have 5 yuan in their pockets. They can't borrow much at all. Loan. It is possible to consider it, but the procedures are too cumbersome, and he was overwhelmed by mortgage loans in his previous life, so he has an instinctive resistance to loans. Jiang Qin took off his clothes and went to bed. He planned to have a good sleep first and then go look for business opportunities elsewhere tomorrow. At the very least, he would double the 700 yuan in his hand. It's easy to say it's easy to start a business again, but it's really not that simple as I thought. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 7, Real White Moonlight. Chapter 7, The Real White Moonlight. The next morning, the morning light spread all over the place. Jiang Qin slipped out of the house, rode his bicycle around the city, and then entered the Jeju City Zoo. Because it was Sunday and summer vacation, the entrance to the zoo was crowded with people, almost more crowded than attending a temple fair. An hour later, Jiang Qin squeezed out of the zoo, even his shoes were almost stepped on. After leaving the door, he squatted in front of the door and took a sip of water. Then he took out his Nokia and called Guo Zihang and asked him to come over. Guo Zihang's home is not far from here. After receiving the call from Jiang Qin, he immediately got in the car and rushed here. He was humming along the way. Although he was sweating profusely, he was in a good mood. He was looking forward to being summoned by Brother Jiang every day. He always felt that he would make money again in the next second. But when he found Jiang Qin, he couldn't help but froze on the spot. I saw Jiang Qin squatting on the ground, holding a plucked chicken in each hand. "Brother Jiang, what are you doing?" Jiang Qin shook the chicken in his hand. "I bought 2 chickens for 10 yuan. I will give you 1. Take it back and let your mother stew it for you to eat." Guo Zihang looked at the door number of the zoo. Although he didn't understand it, he was shocked. "Why do you take the animals with you when you go to the zoo?" "I didn't bring it, I bought it. It was used to feed tigers in the zoo." A chicken costs 11 yuan in the market, but you buy their chicken to feed their tigers, so it's half the price. Then why don't you feed the tiger? Jiang Qin's eyes widened after hearing this. Why should I feed the half-price chickens I bought to tigers because of my ability? Guo Zihang opened his mouth and hesitated for a long time before speaking. You are the wool of the zoo. Stop talking nonsense, do you want it? Yes, I love chicken. Guo Zihang took the chicken handed over by Jiang Qin, gripped the chicken's neck tightly and took a look. His expression suddenly became very complicated. He could imagine a scene in which a tiger in a zoo reconciles its accounts with the administrator, only to find that the accounts are not correct no matter how hard it is. The tiger said I didn't eat it, so don't accuse me. The administrator says you have less money to eat, so that's what you eat. The tiger said it was reasonable for you to steal my chicken, since I didn't eat it anyway. The administrator said you didn't eat the dog. Brother Jiang, why did you come to the zoo to buy chickens? I plan to buy half-price chickens in bulk, transport them quietly, and sell them to the market at a low price of 10 yuan, which can be doubled as soon as they are resold. Then why did you only buy 2? I made a visual inspection and found that the security guard at the entrance of the zoo is a bit strong. I don't think I can beat him, so I asked you to be the vanguard and help me test his strength. Stop, Brother Jiang, I'm the most timid, let alone fighting, I even stutter when I curse. It's worthless things, just eat them. Jiang Qin put the chicken in his hand into a plastic bag, unscrewed the mineral water and took a sip. It is true that speculation can make money quickly, but it cannot be done all the time. He does not want to cause trouble, he just wants to stand and make money. Besides, this kind of petty trouble is indeed far from his goal of rebirth. Jiang Qin stood up, handed his chicken to Guo Zihang, and asked him to help carry it back, while he rode to the next stop, the Jeju City Library. He is now very worried about the first pot of gold, but he has tried various methods to no avail. Damn it, it's really hard to move forward without a system. But even if he had no idea, he didn't plan to squat at home, because as long as people are lazy, they will become lazier and lazier. This is the truth he summed up in his previous life, so he decided to come to the library to find some books and see if there were any in them. The Golden House might be able to give him some inspiration. How to become a charming man liked by rich women. Effective opening remarks after meeting a rich woman. 15 gentlemen's details to impress a rich woman. The gorgeous transformation of the third generation of Tang monk. Successful cases of living with a rich woman. Jiang Qin picked a few books from the humanities and social sciences section and planned to study them carefully. To be honest, he felt that based on the current situation, the only shortcut for him to get his first pot of gold was to be with a rich woman. Young men are strong, and it is not a shame to work hard to make money. Jiang Qin came to the reading area with a stack of books in his arms, but before he sat down, his eyes were suddenly attracted to the southeast corner. There was a young girl sitting there, wearing a waist-cinching long skirt. The small arm placed on the table was as white as snow. Her eyes under the thick eyelashes were as smart as water, her red lips were pink and full, and her long silky hair was shawl. It hangs down, shining like a pearl under the sunlight. The girl was holding a thick book at this time, flipping through it carefully, her eyes flickering, demure and well-behaved. Jiang Qin was stunned for a moment, and a related memory seemed to be activated in his mind. Feng Nanshu, a scholarly girl in Class 1, Grade 3, a taciturn flower of the mountains, and the real white moonlight of Qingnan High School. It is said that she is taken to and from school every day by a winged car, accompanied by a dedicated driver and bodyguard, and her family background is very mysterious. Some people say that her father is a rich man who does transnational business, some say that she is a princess exiled from Beijing, and some say that she is an illegitimate daughter who cannot see the light of day. In short, it is all possible, but the credibility is very low. However, Feng Nanshu does have the temperament of a rich and powerful daughter. He has a cold personality and has no friends. He has never said a word to anyone except answering questions in class. It is precisely because of her cold temperament that repels people thousands of miles away, coupled with the intimidation of her powerful bodyguards, that although she has countless admirers, no one dares to confess to her. Chusiki is already the youth of many people, but she is still inferior in front of Feng Nanshu. After going to college, Jiang Qin met many girls who could compete with Chu Siki, but Feng Nanshu still made him feel amazing when he thought about it. Mr. Lu Sun really didn't lie. There are indeed beautiful faces in the book. But was this sentence said by Lu Sun? Jiang Qin thought about it and felt that it didn't matter. He couldn't remember that the author's famous lines were all said by Lu Sun. At the same time, Feng Nanshu seemed to notice that someone was looking at him, so he raised his eyebrows and glanced over. The moment she looked at Jiang Qin, her eyelashes trembled slightly, and she quickly focused her eyes again on the book in her hand. It is indeed aloof. Jiang Qin gave a pertinent evaluation, then walked over and sat on the table opposite her. Reading is a boring thing. When you can't stand it, it's a good choice to look up at beautiful women. Reading is to make money, and looking at beautiful women is to read. In the end, they are all tools and do not violate your principle of putting money first. Jiang Qin took out a book and placed it in front of him. His eyes inadvertently glanced at the book in Feng Nanshu's hand. Peggy Sue, the girl with the magic eye. Shouldn't a girl with such an aloof temperament read a novel with a literary and youthful temperament like Kafka on the Shore? Why do you think this is a fantasy adventure novel for young children? Just when Jiang Qin was in a daze, the novel in front of him suddenly moved up. Half of the face that was originally exposed was completely covered, not even the beautiful eyebrows were left to herself. Jiang Qin came back to his senses and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Don't even show half of your face. Aloof, really aloof. Jiang Qin didn't care, but reached out and opened the book in front of him. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 8, Finally fell in love with a rich woman. Chapter 8 Finally fell in love with a rich woman. When Elder Tang came back from studying for scriptures, the fire spread all over the country. Later, through someone's introduction, I met a 49-year-old female seductress from a wealthy family. After all, she was doomed and could not escape. After that, Elder Tang did not choose to continue to promote Buddhism, but resolutely got married and became a son-in-law. Now, he sits on a street in the capital, which is in sharp contrast to his predecessor, Elder Tang, who was still in his 60s and still singing. What is gorgeous transformation? This is a gorgeous transformation. But how can such a gorgeous transformation be achieved? The author listed several conditions in the book, and the most important one is appearance. To put it bluntly, you have to be good-looking to have a good start with a rich woman. This is equivalent to a stepping stone. If you can't get in, you don't have to think too much about what happens next. In addition, you must have a good body and be strong enough to withstand the rich lady's happy nails and rich woman's happy balls. You must also be as durable as the Nanfu energy gathering ring, locking in more power. One section is stronger than 6 sections. Of course, there is only the first half of the book, and the rest is analyzed by Jiang Qin himself. Jiang Qin looked very deeply, but he accidentally got too excited and stretched his foot a little far. By chance, he kicked the green and jade-green calf on the opposite side. After realizing his rude behavior, Jiang Qin immediately raised his head and looked to the opposite side. Unexpectedly, the cold girl quietly retracted her legs, as if nothing happened, without even moving the book in front of her. I'm sorry, I was too absorbed in reading just now. I didn't mean to do it. Fine. The girl in front of him did not take away the book or look at him. She only gave a weak and emotionless response. Jiang Qin didn't pay attention, but just returned his eyes to the book. 20 minutes later, he read the last page of The Gorgeous Transformation of the Third Generation of Tang Monk, and had a certain understanding of the basic routine of sleeping with a rich woman. But the question is where to find a rich woman. He had rummaged through the entire bookshelf just now, but could not find the legendary contact information of rich women in the country. If you don't meet a rich woman, wouldn't it be useless to learn these tricks? Jiang Qin was a little disappointed, so he closed the book and stood up, pushing the stool away and planning to walk out. At this moment, Feng Nanshu suddenly moved the book in front of him, looked at him with a pair of clear eyes, and then took the stand on the right side of the desk and placed it in front of him. Please return the borrowed books to their original places before leaving. Jiang Qin glanced at the standing sign, shrugged his shoulders slightly, and left silently. Looking at his retreating figure, Feng Nanshu's eyelashes trembled slightly, and a trace of sadness flashed in his eyes. However, she didn't speak, she just silently put down her books, then turned gently to the opposite side of the table, put away the books that Jiang Qin had spread out one by one, and planned to put them back in their original places. Just when Feng Nanshu was packing up the last book, there was a sudden sound of footsteps behind her, and Jiang Qin's voice also sounded. "I have no intention of leaving, I'm just thirsty and I'm going to buy a bottle of water. Also, I'm really sorry for accidentally kicking you just now. I'd like to offer you a drink as an apology." Jiang Qin unscrewed the juice in his hand and pushed it to Feng Nanshu's hand. This drink was very popular back then, and Sprite and others were his younger brothers in front of him, but later he stopped drinking it for some unknown reason. But Feng Nanshu didn't pick it up. His whole body seemed to be petrified and froze in place, neither speaking nor moving. Finally, she clenched her fists, lowered her head and returned to her side, then raised the book high to cover her delicate face. Jiang Qin found it quite baffling. "Did I not act like a hooligan just now? What you are doing is basically a gentleman's act. Then why does this flower of the high mountain seem to be very nervous?" But he didn't think much about it. He just thought it was her cold temperament that was causing trouble again, and then he sat back in his seat and continued reading the next book. 3 minutes later, Jiang Qin caught a glimpse of a white and slender hand from the corner of his eye. He quietly stretched out from behind the book, the girl with the magic eye, held the bottle of juice, and then quietly retracted it. In the following days, Jiang Qin would come to the library whenever he had time, and he would meet Feng Nanshu every time. The two of them sat at the same table every time, facing each other, as if by agreement, but neither of them spoke, and just concentrated on reading their own books. However, Jiang Qin never comes empty-handed every time he comes. He sometimes brings some snacks, such as bear biscuits, salt and pepper crispy rice, and shrimp crackers. He divides them into 2 portions and pushes the other portion in front of Feng Nanshu. After once or twice, Feng Nanshu also started to bring some snacks, such as macarons, chocolate truffles, and Jenny cookies, and they are placed closer to Jiang Qin every time. Although the two people said that they had no communication at all, they still interacted on the lips and tongues, and they had a tacit understanding. Jiang Qin read The Files of the Rich Woman and Gentleman's Details during this period of time, while Feng Nanshu read The Age of the Blue Dog and The Magic Zoo. June 13, the 6th day of summer vacation. Jiang Qin closed the last book about rich women, put his hands on the table, supported his chin, and his eyes gradually became deeper. The book has its own golden house, and the book has its own beauty like jade. He checked on the internet and found that this sentence was not said by Mr. Lu Sun, but by Zhao Heng, the 3rd emperor of the Song dynasty. The original text was called Encouraging Learning. But Jiang Qin felt that he was only half right. There are indeed Yan Ryu in the book, such as Feng Nanshu sitting opposite me, who is really charming to look at. But there is no golden house in the book, at least he didn't find it. Jiang Qin couldn't help but look at Feng Nanshu, who was eating shrimp crackers like a hamster. She no longer covers her face completely with books, but the coldness in her eyes remains unchanged, and she has almost no desire to communicate. Etc. A black car with wings. There is a dedicated driver to take you to and from school, and there are also security guards accompanying you. Macaroons, Jenny cookies, chocolate truffles. Jiang Qin opened his eyes slightly, thinking that his brain was really funny. He kept thinking about how to meet a rich woman, but he forgot that the rich woman sitting in front of him was a rich woman. At the same time, Feng Nanshu suddenly noticed the way Jiang Qin looked at him, so his movements froze and he slowly put the shrimp crackers he just picked up back into the packaging bag. "I didn't say I won't let you eat, just keep eating." "Oh." Feng Nanshu picked up the shrimp crackers again and stuffed them into his mouth, only to find that Jiang Qin was still staring at him, and his eyes gradually became confused. "Classmate Feng, can I borrow some money from you?" Jiang Qin coughed and tried to be as sincere as possible. Feng Nanshu blinked in confusion, then remained silent for a moment, took off the small black leather bag hanging on the chair, took out a pink wallet with a metal buckle, and slapped it straight on the table. Jiang Qin was immediately punished. He thought to himself that she was definitely a rich woman based on her behavior, but the money he mentioned was not a few hundred, but a lot. I want to borrow more. How much do you want to borrow? Jiang Qin originally wanted to tell me the number directly, but he was very confused about how much to say. He felt that if he said too much, it would embarrass the other party, and if he said too little, it would not be enough. Well, you can lend me as much as you have, but I will pay it back soon. Give it to you, I will never take the money and run away. Feng Nanshu thought for a moment and nodded obediently. I know, I'll get it for you tomorrow. Jiang Qin can't be bothered by her again. When did borrowing money become such a simple thing? Will he be reborn in the same world as before? I hope my comment area can be more active, I really don't want to be alone. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 9, Don't Spend Money Lavishly. Chapter 9, Don't Spend Money Lavishly. Warm sunlight passed through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows of the library and fell on Feng Nanshu's body, making her long, silky hair and thick eyelashes seem to be plated with a layer of light gold. She sits upright, quiet, and well-behaved. Hands the corner of the page with slender fingers and turns the page gently, his smart eyes full of purity. After reading this page, she pinched a shrimp and put it in her mouth, making a clicking sound, and then continued to turn to the next page. After repeating this cycle several times, the packaging bag containing shrimp crackers gradually became empty. It wasn't until Feng Nanshu took action again that she realized that this was the last piece, so she looked up at Jiang Qin. I won't eat it, you can eat it all. Feng Nanshu's eyes flashed with joy, he picked up the last piece and ate it into his mouth, then turned to the next page. Jiang Qin stared at her for a long time, feeling that Feng Nanshu was indeed not joking with him. She really agreed to lend the money. But why does he feel so absurd? Don't you need to make an IOU? Even if it doesn't help, you should ask me what to do and when to pay back the money. Jiang Qin has the soul of a 38-year-old uncle. A pure creature like a high school student should be able to see through it at a glance, but he really can't understand Feng Nanshu's operations. But this is normal. He had never been in contact with a rich woman before his rebirth, so it's not surprising that he can't understand her. Perhaps all rich women are like this. At 4:30 in the afternoon, Feng Nanshu suddenly put the bookmark into the book, stood up, smoothed down his skirt and put the book back on the bookshelf. She leaves on time at this time every day, and it seems that the access control is very strict. But this time, before going out, Feng Nanshu paused deliberately, then turned around and waved goodbye to Jiang Qin. Not so aloof, Jiang Qin watched her leave, then turned to look out of the huge floor-to-ceiling window. Through the glass, he could clearly see the black Bentley parked downstairs. The driver was wearing white gloves and had already opened the door and was waiting respectfully, while the bodyguard was standing on the side of the door with a serious and alert expression. Feng Nanshu walked out of the library quietly, got into the car without saying a word, and disappeared into the streets before dusk with the roar of the engine. Golden House and Yan Ryu are actually the same person. I feel a little hungry suddenly, let's go home first. Jiang Qin picked up the soft rice guide and put it back on the bookshelf, rode back to Hongrong Home on Bayer Road, and bought a drawer of Xilongbao at the gate of the community. Today is Wednesday, a working day. Ms. Yuan Yuqin is a staff member of the government guest house, and Mr. Jiang Xinghong works in the health bureau, so there should be no one at home now, so he can only buy a small steamed bun to make do. However, after eating so much takeout and instant noodles in his previous life, he is no longer a vegetarian and doesn't have excessive requirements for the quality of his rice. What's more, this steamed stuffed bun shop tastes really good, with thin crust and big fillings. 10 years later, it even opened a branch. Jiang Qin picked up a bun from the plastic bag and took a bite. It was hot and oily. It was still the original recipe and still had a familiar taste. It's just that the weather is too hot now, so I'm sweating after eating too. Jiang Qin the plastic bag and planned to eat it at home. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the night came quietly. Mr. Jiang Zhenghong returned home carrying 2 plastic bags, changed out of his slippers, and sat down on the sofa. His forehead was covered with sweat and he was breathing heavily. He hurriedly called Jiang Qin to pour him some water. Dad, where have you been? Why are you so tired? Your mother said that the food in the Nonsuan wet market is cheap. I rode my bicycle for 40 minutes and bought a bunch of them. They are all your favorites. Jiang Qin put the water cup in front of him. Isn't it just a few cents cheaper? It's not hard enough. Is our family that poor? Jiang Jinghong took a sip of water and said with satisfaction, this has nothing to do with poverty. You are going to college, and you have to marry a wife after college. In the future, there will be more places to spend money, and there will be more places to save. Of course we have to save, but we can no longer spend lavishly. As soon as he finished speaking, the door shaft creaked, and the door was pushed open again. Ms. Yuan Yuqin walked in with a shopping bag from a department store. Her expression was overjoyed and she was humming a tune. Seeing this scene, the two men couldn't help but look at each other. What did you buy? Sister Sue from our workplace said that wool coats in the department store were on sale for half price, and I got a big deal. Jiang Jinghong's eyes widened. Wool coat? How much did you spend on it? Ms. Yuan Yuqin showed a proud expression. The original price was 888, but now it's only 488. Dad, is this what you said about not spending money lavishly? Jiang Qin was shocked. You prodigal bitch, it's the dog days of summer, what kind of wool coat are you buying? What do you know? If it wasn't the dog days of summer, the price wouldn't be reduced. Jiang Jinghong showed his majesty as the head of the family. Jiang Qin has already passed the college entrance examination. After his grades are over, he has to buy wine and pay his tuition. There is a lot of money to spend. Yuan Yuqin changed her shoes and walked to the living room. Aren't these my exact words? Also, did you go to the Nonsuan vegetable market when I asked you to go? Of course I went. I did the math and found that the food at Nonsuan market is much cheaper than our salt shop downstairs. I saved more than $20 this time. Then we saved 302 today. Jiang Jinghong's mind didn't even turn around for a long time. Where did those 300 come from? Ms. Yuan Yuqin picked up the shopping bag in her hand. I used 488 to buy a coat originally priced at 888. Didn't I save another 300 yuan here and there? Yuqin, I have to say something about you. Your concept of consumption is obviously wrong. Jiang Jinghong, I've been married to you for so many years but I haven't bought any clothes. It's just a wool coat and you still blame me? Jiang Qin watched happily from the side, feeling that this long-lost family dispute was heartwarming. Dad is still in his prime, strong, his hair has not turned gray at the age of 53, and he has not secretly driven Didi to the point of fainting in the car in order to earn a down payment for himself. My biological mother is still young and loves beauty. She would go shopping in department stores if she had a little money. She didn't even dare to buy meat because she was saving money. This is definitely the happiest thing for him after his rebirth. However, it was too mean for him to laugh while watching the show, and he soon brought trouble to himself, and received a blank stare from the couple. Jiang Qin, why are you laughing? Do you also think I shouldn't buy this wool coat? Jiang Qin suppressed the smile on his face. Mom, I want to make a lot of money in the future. I will never let you buy outdated discounted clothes again, and I will never let my dad go to the vegetable market so far away. Yuan Yuqin's expression was slightly stunned, and his eyes softened instantly. This is my good son. Don't be like your father, who picks and picks all day long. Where did I pick and search? Jiang Jinghong's voice was a little weaker, and he obviously lacked confidence. When he turned around, he found that his mother-in-law had opened the shopping bag, and the bag actually contained rolls of toilet paper. What's this? The leader said that all the inventory in the guest house must be replaced, so I took it back. Do you think you are the only one who knows how to be thrifty? Yuan Yuqin said angrily, turned around and entered the kitchen. Jiang Jinghong was stunned, thinking to himself, you are just fishing for law enforcement. End of this chapter. Who can fall in love after being reborn? Chapter 10, I stole my father's money and gave it to you. Chapter 10, stealing my father's money and giving it to you. In the early morning, the sunlight outside the window shone slantly on the bedside. Jiang Qin opened his eyes suddenly, opened the door and ran to the toilet. After squatting on the toilet for 3 minutes, he stood up again in a daze, looking completely confused. Damn it, I forgot that I had been reborn, and the problem of having diarrhea when I woke up was long gone. But once you get up, there is no reason to go back to sleep. Jiang Qin washed himself, hung up the towel, pushed his bicycle out of the storage room downstairs, and then went to the Jeju City Library. When he came to the second floor of the library, he saw Feng Nanshu at a glance. This girl was wearing a black and white plaid skirt today, with long hair hanging around her waist, and her eyes were clear and translucent. She was looking for a book on the bookshelf with her feet up. This posture made her slender waist straight and her body leaning forward slightly. The exquisite and graceful curves are undoubtedly revealed. What are you looking for? I want to read that book. Feng Nanshu turned to look at him and pointed to the upper row with his slender fingers. Jiang Qin walked over, helped her take down the book, and handed it to her hand. Then the two of them returned to the familiar corner and sat in familiar positions. Then, Feng Nanshu opened his small leather bag, took out an Industrial and Commercial Bank of China card, and slapped it straight in front of him. For you. To be honest, Jiang Qin himself felt a little embarrassed. It's strange that a 38-year-old uncle would be embarrassed to borrow money from an 18-year-old girl. In addition, the first thing Feng Nanshu did when she sat down was to take out this card, without even waiting for him to ask, which meant that she had always taken this matter to heart. This is more or less touching. Jiang Qin picked up the bank card and pinched it with his fingertips. It still felt a bit unreal. Just standing there and borrowing the money. He still remembers that when he took the blame and was fired in 2016, he borrowed money from everywhere to pay for the rent and received many looks. Although it was not a psychological shadow, it was definitely not a good feeling for him. Thank you. You're welcome. What's the password? 68. The bank card passwords of rich people are really plain and simple. Jiang Qin put the card into his pocket and patted it twice. He felt relieved when he could feel the outline of the card through his pocket. He wanted to ask how much money was in it, but he hesitated to ask because he always felt that asking like this was a bit impolite and seemed very purposeful. Forget it, as many as there are. But what is saved here should be the eldest lady's New Year's money or pocket money, which is only 80,000 to 90,000 yuan a day, maybe less. He plans to use the money to play around for a month to see if he can double it, and then buy an old shabby house in a bustling city to earn money for demolition. Then return the money to Feng Nanshu and see how much is left before starting the real business plan. Have you applied for a bank card so early? It's not mine. Feng Nanshu said calmly. Jiang Qin originally asked casually, but when he heard the answer, he was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes widened. This card is not yours, but whose is it? Feng Nanshu raised his clear eyes. I stole from my father. You stole your father's money and gave it to me? Is it okay? Feng Nanshu's expression was a little confused, as if he didn't know whether it was the right thing to do, so he asked the question to Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin really can't be punished. What kind of relationship would allow a young girl to steal her father's money and spend it on herself? Boyfriend? Fiancé? Husband? He couldn't think of anything else besides these possibilities. But the key problem is that he and Feng Nanshu are really not familiar with each other. Even if they are classmates at the same school, they are not in the same class. Although they have been reading together and eating snacks in the past few days, they have not spoken much. The money is a bit hot. Jiang Qin hesitated again and again, but reluctantly took the card out of his pocket and gave it back to Feng Nanshu. He is indeed short of money, because without money he can't do anything, but how can he seduce a young girl who is ignorant of the world to steal the family's money? Is this even a human being? You don't want to borrow it anymore? Feng Nanshu was a little confused. I'm afraid you'll get scolded when you go home, so let's forget it. Feng Nanshu shook his head coldly. No, my dad has a lot of cards, and I can't tell if there is one missing. Jiang Qin still waved his hand. If it was your money, I would borrow it, but taking it without asking is stealing. Will you pay it back? Of course I'll pay it back. If you can return it, you can borrow it. Feng Nanshu said with certainty. Hearing this, Jiang Qin hesitated. At this moment, there seemed to be a little person on his left shoulder, constantly encouraging him to accept it. Anyway, as long as he made up the money before being discovered, he would not run away with the money. Jiang Qin, have you forgotten why you were so sorry in your previous life? The rules of this world are like this: the brave will starve to death and the timid will die. Besides, borrowing money is not stealing money. At least it is legitimate and has nothing to do with your own moral standards. Jiang Qin was convinced by himself, picked up the card again, and took Feng Nanshu to the bank. Because Feng Nanshu didn't know how much money was in it, she was so confused, but Jiang Qin felt that since she was a creditor, it was necessary to know the specific amount. Then again, what on earth is this girl thinking? Aren't he afraid that he would lie to her, say 50,000 when there is 100,000, say 30,000 when there is 50,000, and take out all the hidden amounts so that she has no place to cry? When he went to the bank to check, Jiang Qin discovered that poverty really limited his imagination. 50,000 or 100,000? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. There are too many digits of light here to count. Jiang Qin opened his eyes wide and looked at Feng Nanshu in disbelief, thinking to himself, you rich people really don't use money as money, right? More than 6 million are put in one bank card, and the password is still 68. If it is lost, won't you lose a lot of money? Feng Nanshu was also looking at the screen at this time. After a while, she raised her hand expressionlessly and pointed at the string of numbers on the screen. Wow, you have a lot of money. After returning from the bank, Jiang Qin sat in silence at his desk, always feeling that today's experience was more absurd than his rebirth. But no matter what, the matter of the first pot of gold was solved perfectly. He didn't even need to be so cautious when starting a business. He could just do it boldly. Go buy an old and broken down small house, wait for it to be demolished, make a fortune, invest in stocks, and then do some business. Starting a business is not too simple. At this moment, Feng Nanshu suddenly put down the book in his hand and looked at him with clear eyes, as if he had something to say. Jiang Qin came back to his senses slightly. What's wrong? I want to make friends with you, and I hope you won't be disrespectful. Feng Nanshu's expression was serious. Jiang Qin's face was full of questions, and he was a little confused as to what the solution was. But then, he saw clearly the title of the book he helped Feng Nanshu pick up, How to Make Good Friends Quickly and Effectively. Jiang Qin's mind was stuck for a moment. He glanced at Feng Nanshu, who was a little nervous, and then patted his forehead, feeling that the situation suddenly became clear. Which spread the rumor that she was aloof. This girl is obviously naturally stupid and socially intimidated. Actually, we are already friends. Then when can you take me out to play? End of this chapter.